Hi everybody, today we're going to make this cute little Japanese tea bowl. We're going to start with this piece of clay, and I'm going to use my hands to mold and shape into a sphere. My clay is pretty tough, so I'm going to take some time and just kind of smack the air pockets out of it and make sure that I get a good round sphere to start with. Next, I'm going to pinch a piece of clay off. I'm going to save this for later. Think about, I guess, the size of a large grape. Put it to the side and then continue to make your clay into a nice round sphere. Now you're going to press your clay down onto the mat. Take your thumb and make a depression into the clay, but not through the clay. Now begin to pinch and turn with your 4 fingers on the outside, thumb on the inside. You're going to press and turn to make your pot. Once you have a good shape, you're now going to just make sure that it's no thinner than your pinky. If the walls are too thin, your bowl is going to collapse on you, so please try to make sure to keep the thickness to keep the integrity of the pot. Flip the bowl over and give it a gentle tap on your placemat. This will ensure that the top edge of your rim is nice and even. I'm using my thumb to spread out any thickness disparities to make sure that everything is nice and even. I'm using a little slip to smooth out any cracks that have now developed due to the fact that your clay will dry out as you work with it with your hands. You could also use a sponge, gently dip it into your slip, squeeze out any excess, and just use a little bit of it to smooth it out and make sure you have a nice smooth surface to work on. Now I'm going to take that spare piece of clay that I broke off in the beginning, and I'm going to roll a coil. A coil is a long rope of clay, and I'm going to roll this coil about the thickness of my pinky, and I'm going to use this to add a little bit of a base to the bottom of our tea bowl. If you find that your piece is ending up a little more square, you could twist it just like I did, and it'll help to keep that round cylinder look. Now I'm going to measure my coil against the base of my bowl. I want to make sure that it goes all the way around, so I want to roll it long enough so I have room to sort of pull it off and make sure that it fits. Now I'm going to use my slip again, and I'm going to make sure that my coil has no stress cracks in it. You want to make sure that it's nice and smooth so that when you bend it around the back of your bowl, that it doesn't crack or break. So now I'm going to use a tool to scratch the surface. This method is called scoring the clay. So scoring the clay is basically roughing it up. You're going to rough up where you want to put it, and you're also going to rough up the surface that you are sticking to the clay, so the bottom of that coil. I'm going to use a little bit of slip, just a little bit, to make sure that the two pieces stick together. So your slip actually acts like glue as well. You're going to place it on. I like to think of it like Velcro, where you have two surfaces that are rough and they can stick together, especially using the slip. And you want to make sure that you use that and you smooth out any seams. So the seams are where two pieces of clay meet, creates like a little bit of a line, and you're going to use your finger or a tool to smooth that out. So I'm using a tool, just a plastic tool. I'm going to use the flat edge of it, and I'm just going to smear the clay together, and that is going to be to get rid of that little seam and to make sure that the coil sticks to the bowl. You also want to make sure that you get rid of the seam on the outside of the bowl as well. So I'm using a different clay tool. It's a flat version, and I'm basically just dragging a little bit of clay from the coil onto the bowl itself. And then I use my finger and a little slip to smooth it out. Make sure to add your name to the bottom. I like to use the long tool that looks like a giant toothpick just to scratch the surface to make sure my name is on the bottom. I'm using the sponge and a little bit of slip again just to smooth out the surface and get it ready for my design. I'm going to be using a little press tool that has a design on the tip that you can very gently press onto your clay to create a design. Here it is. It looks like a little sun. I like it. So I'm going to put my hands on the inside of the bowl just to help hold the wall's integrity in place while I press. So I'm pressing on the outside and keeping at least one finger on the inside of where I'm pressing so that it does not push the clay in. Follow this step all the way around your bowl to create a pattern. And there you have it. I think it came out great. Now it has to wait about a week to dry. I will fire it in the kiln and then we will glaze it. Stay tuned.